So, even though we're a little late on this, what did you think of the series finale of The Mandalorian?
So, alright, so it's no big secret. I'm not like a huge Star Wars fan.
Yes.
I was kind of like shook when, are we doing like a spoiler cast?
Yeah, at this point, I'm sure everyone knows what the big reveals are and whatever.
Alright, yeah, when Luke Skywalker showed up, I was like, damn, is that Luke Skywalker?
Yeah.
And then I was just kind of like shook, and I was like, oh shit. And he also just showed up and started like murking motherfuckers left and right.
Yes.
And I was like, damn.
Wasn't that raw?
That was pretty raw, but like in the following movies, he was kind of like a bitch. I'm like, what happened to you?
Yeah. So, we haven't discussed this, and that's because when you started, you saw it after it had aired already. I saw it as soon as it dropped. When you texted me, your text messages were basically just, what the fuck? Luke Skywalker, what the fuck? And I wasn't sure where you were actually leaning. I'm like, are these good what the fucks? Or are these like bad what the fucks? So you were surprised in a good way then.
Yeah, like I saw him and I was like, what the fuck? And I saw him like fucking killing all these fucking droid robots, like stormtrooper shits, and I was like, damn, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like I had no care. I was just like, yeah. I cared more about when the Mando and like that guy they broke out of prison, I forgot his name. Mayfield break into the base, and then he talks like his old commander who got everybody killed.
Yeah.
And then he fucking shoots him. I felt more of like the emotional connection with that than I did was like the Skywalker showing up. Because I was like, yeah, Skywalker, everybody knows him, fucking whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I saw Mayfield do that, and I was like, damn, that is like somebody who I think genuinely is a good person inside and did a lot of fucking shady things. But like at the end of the day, like still cared about the people he was with.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's not a bad point of view to have. It's interesting because Mandalorian season 1 kind of stands on its own and it has nothing to do with anything else. And then season 2 has like characters from the cartoon shows, has characters from the books, and then it brings in Luke Skywalker. So I wanted to know how you felt about that because I know you're not the biggest fan of like the sequel trilogy, or you have your own, what you like specific to Star Wars is different than what other people like about Star Wars. And like, did that ruin what you thought The Mandalorian was as like a kind of standalone space western, or did it kind of flow naturally with all these characters in and out? Was it too much lore?
I think, yeah, season 2 definitely like plays more into, you kind of have to know some lore, some background to really grasp it. Yeah, season 1 was totally like a space western, and I think that's why I got into it more. Mm-hmm. And whereas season 2 did not feel like that at all.
Yeah.
Season 2...
Maybe that first episode with the dragon.
Yeah.
But like other than that.
Yeah, season 2 felt more of like a... Season 2 felt more of a Star Wars thing.
Yes.
Where in season 1 of the Mando was kind of like a... Yeah, this is like fucking space Butch Cassidy and a St. Anne's Kid or some shit, you know?
Uh-huh. But did that wane on your experience with the show? Did you check out at all? Or are you looking forward to season 3? Or
I'm looking forward to season 3 just to see what they do. I'll put it to you this way: I'm hooked because of season 1.
Yes.
Season 2 left a bunch of fucking things open, where I'm kind of like, well, I need to know now. And why watch season 3? If my starting point was season 2, I don't think I could have. I think I would have stopped after like episode 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think all those fan servicey moments that they included in season 2, they work because they earned it. In season 1, they got us to care enough about those characters that, okay, all these fan servicey moments that we're getting, they're more effective because we already have a solid foundation of who these characters are and why we should care about them. So when they interact with other people that we know, it works. It's not like Ahsoka's episode, for example. Ahsoka doesn't overshadow the Mandalorian's plot in the show, which I was worried about. I didn't want Ahsoka's presence to overshadow everything. And she doesn't. She's in and out for an episode. She's good. Luke Skywalker, I don't think he's probably going to be coming back, which is why he's CGI and not recasted as somebody else, because that CGI didn't look so great. It was pretty distracting. I didn't like it personally. But that makes me think, oh, okay, well, that was probably expensive to do, and it doesn't look so great as it is, so he's probably never going to show up, if not maybe one more time. So it doesn't really bother me, because I know season 3, it'll focus on the Mandalorian and what he's going to be doing without Grogu. And that'll...
And his ship.
And his ship! He don't have a ship!
What he gonna do?
I don't know! He don't have nothing! He took his helmet off, like his whole... But that was such an effective scene when he takes his helmet off and Baby Yoda touches his face. That moment felt really great for me. It was really emotional. It felt real, and it's just this guy acting against a little puppet. But it felt real and raw. And Luke Skywalker, who just had a fucking fantastic fan servicey orgasmic scene right before that, doesn't overshadow that more somber, more softer, more quieter moment. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, it felt earned. So I thought they did a pretty good job of it.
I think, like, I don't know, I remember one thing thinking it was like, so the Mando is supposed to be like one of the best like fucking bounty hunter killers out there. And then you also have like fucking Boba Fett there too, and like he was also one of the best out there. And they're about to die, and I think they all know they're about to die. And then like he just shows up and like literally like in a course of like a fucking stroll through a park.
Yep.
Fucking mows down everybody that was like trying to kill them like nothing. And it's kind of like I don't know. I didn't like the divide between like the levels between the two. I was kind of like he really ain't shit compared to like some of these Jedis. And like these Jedis are like all powerful fucking like gods almost.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the point was to show like this is Luke Skywalker in his prime. Like he is full force Jedi, fully trained. He don't need no more training.
Big dick energy.
The biggest dick energy in that entire fucking spaceship. That's the version of Luke Skywalker that fans had been waiting to see for like 30, 40 years, since like Return of the Jedi. Like you said, you called Luke a bitch earlier in the sequels when he's an old man and he's grumpy and he's disgruntled or whatever. And I like that interpretation of Luke Skywalker because it makes sense that someone 30, 40 years from now would have a different point of view on life. Just naturally happens. And I like what they did with his character, even though a lot of people don't. But also, I like this too, because it's like, it would make sense that Luke in his prime would just be mowing motherfuckers down and just... So I think fans were really satisfied getting to see this version of Luke that we never got to see in the sequel trilogy. Yes, I would have liked to have seen this version of Luke Skywalker in the movies, but it makes sense that we didn't because he's like fucking 40 years older at that point.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been nice to see him like that old grumpy man. Then they have one scene where he's like, all right, I'm fucking tired. Like, start fucking mowing everybody down.
I agree. But, like, well, that's not really what the Force is about. Or at least not what the Jedi are about. You know, it is supposed to be a religion. There is supposed to be a more spiritual side. In The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, and I know people don't like this, I feel like we see the most Jedi thing happen. Luke doesn't fight Kylo Ren at the end because being a Jedi should mean that you don't resort to fighting. Or Rey saves the snake instead of killing the snake because you should save things that are hurt and are in nature instead of just killing them. And I think those are the most Jedi things we ever seen done. And I like that because they're peaceful and whatever. But then on the flip side, people just want to see motherfuckers get mowed down and like destruction and mayhem and chaos. And I get that, but I don't know. It's a weird conflicting message.
So I'm playing that new Star Wars game, the like flight simulator. Squadrons. And like, you know, you play as two sides. So it's funny because like you're playing as like both sides of the rebellion and the Empire. And it's like the rebellion people are just like, yeah, we gotta, you know, fight to stop the Empire, and you know, we gotta do the right thing and shit like that. Whereas like the Empire is like full blown straight up like Nazis.
Yeah. Where
they're just like, oh, they're trying to evacuate civilians. The motherfuckers shouldn't have been here. Fucking take them all out.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, oh, there's like a fucking medical ship. Oh, is there wounded and like civilians down there? Fuck them.
Yeah.
It's a clear night and day. Like, these are the bad guys. These are the good guys. And I feel like that's kind of shitty storytelling.
Probably, and it's weird because like the original trilogy, it was pretty clear. It was black and white. Luke and his friends, they're the good guys, and the Empire, they're the bad guys.
Well, yeah, it was supposed to be like an allegory for like Nazi Germany and shit, right?
Yeah, but it's effective, and back in the day, because like Star Wars was like a fairy tale-esque thing, but like the more movies we get, the more shades of gray there are, so the more complicated things get. Like Finn in the sequel trilogy, he himself was a stormtrooper and he defected, so you would think his character would be more sympathetic towards stormtroopers since they were ripped away from their family and this is the only way of life that they know. They haven't been given a chance to choose whether or not they should defect or not. So when we see him just shooting down stormtroopers left and right without any remorse, it's kind of like, you know who these people are. You know that they're not necessarily choosing to be the Nazis like the people who signed up for the Empire were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's
like, these aren't the fanatics. These are like people who have no choice.
Yeah, so it's weird and complicated. Oh. My favorite moment in the finale, one of my favorite moments in the finale, was in the beginning where they try and kidnap the doctor, and like the pilot, he takes him and he says, I was there, like on the Death Star when you guys blew it up. You know how many millions of people died? You guys are terrorists. And that was like his point of view. And it's interesting because that goes back to like misinformation and having your point of view and thinking one side is the terrorist as the other side thinks these guys are the terrorists. I think that was probably the most effective use of having a grayish area when it comes to military tactics that Star Wars has ever had, because they don't really do that too well anywhere else.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I feel like every movie with a villain that I've seen, the ones that always stand out to me are the ones where I'm like, the villain kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Where it's like the bad guy, what he's trying to accomplish, what he's trying to achieve, like, kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the ends don't really justify the means. Or it's like, off the top of my head, it's like, you know, Thanos.
So Thanos did nothing wrong.
No,
I'm joking.
Yeah, I know.
I've seen that online.
But it's like
you understand Thanos as a character.
Yes.
He makes sense and his motivations are clear.
Yeah.
As opposed to like
Moff Gideon,
yes,
who's just like, I'm gonna take this fucking baby Jedi and I'm gonna take his blood so we can make our own Sith Lords, and it could be just like the good old days of the Empire. That's literally all I see. You know what I mean? And like I know, like it's shitty to me because I know they can do it. They fucking did it with the fucking guy. What's his name? Mayfield.
Yeah,
Mayfield. They did it with Mayfield. And, you know,
well, it's a give and take. Star Wars is such a big universe, and there are so many characters that sometimes some people get more focus over the others. Like talking about Finn, he didn't really get a great arc, but that's because they had a focus on Rey and Kylo Ren and Luke and Leia, and so there's so much, which is why I think The Mandalorian was such a great vehicle to show like the people who kind of get lost in the movies as background characters, like Boba Fett. Everyone loved Boba Fett, but we didn't really get to see him do anything in the movies. He's just kind of there.
Yeah.
And now he has like his own episode where he just kicks a bunch of ass. And that's very simplistic, but that goes back to like, these smaller characters get to do their own thing. A character like Mayfield can have a whole episode dedicated to himself where we get to see his perspective of the universe. And then we move along.
I think of like the entire series, there's only two objects I honestly really like. Mm-hmm. That's like the first season of the Mando and Rogue One.
Well, those are perfect examples of stories that stand on their own. And I know Rogue One kind of ties into A New Hope.
Yeah.
But A New Hope stands on its own completely by itself.
But it's like, I don't know, the main reason I like those is because it's not about like these fucking Jedi gods or anything. Mm-hmm. It's like the Mando because it stands on its own space western. Rogue One because like I think we even had this conversation after we saw Rogue One. For the most part, I feel like in any Star Wars movie and a lot of media in general, it's always been these are soldiers, they die, don't worry about them. Mm-hmm. They exist to die and to drive the plot.
Yeah.
That's it. Whereas I feel like in Rogue One, it was kind of like, no, these are people. They're fucking terrified. They're gonna die. Mm-hmm. They're scared. They're still doing what they're doing because in the end, that's what they truly believe is the right thing. Yeah. And they're gonna die, and they know it, but they're doing what they need to do. Mm-hmm. And like a humanized like the war for me, like the whole Empire, like in New Republic, everything. It humanized them because it wasn't just like faceless stormtroopers. It wasn't just like a random fucking like rebel. Mm-hmm. It was people, and I don't know, that's what I liked about the most. Also, that ending was fucking metal as fuck.
It was awesome. It was raw. Yeah. Darth Vader gets to mow down everyone.
And just like them like sitting there and just like, this is
they know they're about to die. They know they're fucked.
And then
they don't even really know if they get to achieve their goal by the time they die.
They just know they did what they could.
Yeah.
And then like I'm not gonna lie,
I might watch this movie afterwards.
I'm not gonna lie, me fucking too. And like just the entire fucking ending of Rogue One, I'm just like, all right, when's like some big dick energy about to happen, and they get pulled off the planet or the bomb stop,
Don't.
And it doesn't, and you see the fucking flash, and just like it cuts to white, right?
Yeah.
And then it's over, or it continues on to the next, and I'm just like,
but like those characters, they're gone, and you know it.
And I was just like, wow. I remember like sitting there and being like, wow, that was ballsy as fuck. Yeah. Holy shit, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And because of that, that's what stands out to me. Mm-hmm. The whole humanizing the people thing, I know like the Clone Wars cartoons does that a lot. I've never seen that, so I can't really...
It is a cartoon made back in 2008, so it does skew like kiddish. There's a lot of kidsy shit in there that I don't like. The more you stick with it, the show kind of matures as it goes along. So by the time you get to the finale feels great and everything feels earned, but it takes a lot to kind of get through.
Yeah. I mean, like, you fucking know me. You brought it up in the past. I'm a big fan of miniseries.
Yes.
I think they have Disney Plus now. They need to make shit. They should make a fucking like Disney Plus miniseries about stormtroopers. Just call it fucking Trooper, and it follows like one like battalion of troopers or some shit, and they're just like going through events that happen, and the dude's just like, I think I'm on the wrong side of this war.
Sure. Well, they try to do that with a lot of things. I think with Disney Plus, there's a great avenue to tell lots of smaller stories. Let's get new perspectives on the world. Let's get a whole bunch of different genres. Let's get a Star Wars horror. Let's get a Star Wars romance. Let's get a Star Wars this, that, and the other thing. Just because you can. Fuck it. You have the means to do it now. Let's go do it. I mean, but they announced like the next 10 Star Wars shows onto Disney Plus. Have you gotten a chance to see what they're doing? Well, they announced a whole fuck ton of things. Obviously, the Book of Boba Fett is next. They announced Ahsoka's getting her own show. Obi-Wan's getting his own show. The show I'm looking forward to the most, they're making a Rangers of the New Republic. That might be more your speed, since it'll be about like the formation of the new Galactic Republic after the fall of the Empire. They announced the next movie is going to be called Rogue Squadron. And it's going to be directed by Patty Jenkins, who directed the Wonder Woman movies. And she wanted to tell this story personally because her dad was a fighter pilot. And she described it as like she wanted to tell the best fighter pilot story there is. And she thought Star Wars would be a great way to do that. So it's going to involve like X-Wing fighters and all that shit. So that might be your speed as well. It'll be its own contained story, has nothing to do with everything else. And it'll be on the big screen. Fuck. That sounds good. It sounds like Top Gun, but in space.
I'm excited.
Space gun.
Top space.
Top.
Yeah.
Well, I know everyone. Star Wars is so big, you can have your own personal taste. Like, I like the Jedi stuff and the action stuff. Some people, like yourself, prefer the grounded stuff and the space fights, whatever.
Yeah.
There's so much room for so much potential.
I think my biggest thing right now is I hope somebody who is like on a creative board at Disney Plus listens to what I'm saying. Make a miniseries like Band of Brothers, but about stormtroopers or about like rebels, and tell their story.
The closest thing now, I mean, because I've always wanted to know what happened to the clone troopers.
Yeah.
Because the clone troopers exist in the prequels, and by the time we get to the originals, they're not clones. They're people who enlisted into the army. And they're finally kind of delving into that territory with a sequel series to the Clone Wars, and it's called The Bad Batch. The Bad Batch are a group of like kind of defected clones who have their own special abilities. They're kind of misfits, but they have their craft, and it's going to be telling the story of what happened in the transition period between the Republic into the Empire. So that might be kind of what you're talking about. It'll be interesting to see what direction they go. It is going to be a cartoon, though. So, yeah.
I feel like animation's becoming more and more of a accepted form medium.
You should check out the Bad Batch story arc in the Clone Wars. It's in the final season, so you'll get a chance to see kind of how the series has progressed. Because if you like it, then you'll probably look forward to the actual show itself more. And you might be like, okay, well, if this is kind of eventually where the show ends up, then maybe you'll be more inclined to go back and check out how it all started.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like now with this whole Disney Plus, like, you know, for better or for worse, it's going to open up the floodgates for a lot of media that maybe wouldn't have been given the time of day. But I guess what you're trying to...
You're trying to tell me that Star Wars is aight?
No, that the Mandalorian season finale was aight.
That was pretty alright. I cried. Not because of Grogu, but because I got to see Luke Skywalker. Luke is my favorite character. So, like, again, seeing the version of Luke that I've been waiting to see, like, my whole life was great.
So, Luke Skywalker is aight?
He's alright.
I feel like you cut these out, so I don't even know why I'm bothering.
No, have you been listening to them? Because I don't cut them out. They're in there.
Alright.